The Epstein case left behind one disturbing question. How many victims were never found? Today, Mazie Hirono demanded Kash Patel answer why. What happened to victims who vanished? Everyone knows the names connected to Epstein, but what about the victims whose names never appeared anywhere? That was the question hanging over room 2141 of the Rayburn House office building that morning. Not the names of the powerful, not the client list, not the redacted files that Washington had been arguing about for years. The question that no one, not Congress, not the Justice Department, not the FBI, had ever seriously answered. Where did they go? The ones who never came forward, the ones who never filed a claim, the ones who simply disappeared. Senator Mazie Hirono had been awake since 4:47 a.m. She sat at her kitchen table reading documents that most Americans would never see, not because they were classified, but because no one had bothered to look. She arrived at the hearing room 40 minutes early and placed a single manila folder on the desk in front of her. She did not open it, not yet. Kash Patel entered at 9:03 a.m., flanked by two FBI senior counsels. He carried himself with the confidence of a man who believed he had already won the argument before it started. His team had prepared talking points on transparency and statistics on recent successes. He scanned the room with the calm of someone expecting a routine sparring match. He hadn't read the folder. The first 40 minutes proceeded exactly as planned. Expected questions, expected answers. Patel was smooth, controlled, almost bored. Then Senator Hirono's microphone clicked on. Director Patel, she began, her voice carrying no warmth and no hostility, just the surgical precision of someone who had chosen every word 3 days in advance. I came here today not to relitigate what America already knows about Jeffrey Epstein. I came here about what America has never been forced to confront. I came here about the victims whose names never appeared in any document, the ones we cannot account for, the ones who vanished. Patel's expression didn't change, but his left hand, resting on the table, pressed slightly flatter against the surface. A barely visible shift, the first sign. Director, she continued, I want to be direct with the American people about something. This country embarrassed itself on the world stage through this case. But what happened after, the way it was managed, the way it was contained, that was worse, because it stopped looking like justice. It started looking like damage control. The silence in the room lasted 4 full seconds. A Senate aide in the back row stopped typing. Patel leaned toward his microphone and offered the answer his team had rehearsed. Senator, the FBI has conducted an extensive review of all materials related to the Epstein investigation and has made significant strides in... Hirono cut through it like a scalpel. I didn't ask about strides, Director. I asked about people. She opened the folder. Virginia Giuffre, Annie Farmer, Maria Farmer. These women had the courage to stand in court and describe this network in detail. Their names became symbols. But Director, did you personally speak with them? Not your agents, not previous administrations. You, personally, since taking office. Patel's jaw tightened. The FBI has processes in place for victim engagement that are handled by qualified... That is not what I asked. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. I asked if you personally spoke with any of them. And I am asking because these women were the ones who raised their voices. My question is about the ones who didn't, the ones still unaccounted for. Did you ask those 3 women directly what they know about the individuals who were never identified? Patel said nothing for a moment. His senior counsel leaned slightly in and pulled back just as quickly, but Hirono was already moving forward. Director, DOJ estimates place the total number of individuals harmed by Epstein's network at over 1,200. More than 135 claimants received $121 million in compensation. But 135 people does not represent 3 decades of documented activity. Those were the ones who came forward, who had resources, legal support, and were findable. My question, Director, what happened to the rest? Patel shifted in his seat. Senator, the Victims' Compensation Program was designed to be inclusive and, with respect, Director, I did not ask about the compensation program. I asked about the people who were never in it, the ones from France, from the UK, from Eastern Europe, from countries whose governments have told our committee they were never formally contacted by the FBI for victim identification. What happened to them? The room had gone quiet in a different way now, not the polite silence of a hearing, the held-breath silence of something unexpected. And then Hirono reached back into the folder. What she placed on the table was not a photograph. It was not a classified memo. It was a procurement record. timestamped, filed. Part of the Epstein documents that had been processed, cataloged, and apparently never examined closely. A shipment log. Destination, a private island. Contents, 330 gallons of industrial-grade sulfuric acid. Director, she said, and now her voice carried something new, a controlled gravity that made 3 Republican committee members look up from their phones. I want to make sure this committee understands what we are looking at. This is a supply record, official, time-stamped. Part of the documented materials connected to the Epstein operation. It details a delivery of industrial sulfuric acid, 330 gallons, to a private island facility. She paused. For context, Director, that quantity of that compound is chemically sufficient to dissolve organic material, including bone, beyond the point of identification, within hours. This is not speculation. This is chemistry. Patel's hands had gone still. There was no industrial facility on that island that would require this compound in that volume. No water treatment operation, no manufacturing. Nothing that explains this order. She looked directly at him. Did the FBI determine what this shipment was for? And more importantly, did anyone in the Bureau think to ask? The silence stretched for 11 seconds. A camera operator in the press gallery later said he forgot to breathe. Patel's response came slowly. Senator, I would need to review the specific document you're referencing before I could comment on its context, or the document has been in FBI possession for years, Director. Her voice was still flat, still precise. I'm not asking you to review it. I'm asking you whether anyone ever did. No answer came. She moved on without waiting for one. Director, the public was told this was a trafficking network, exploitation, leverage, coercion. That is what the official record says. One pause. But when documented evidence raises questions that were never formally examined, a shipment with no industrial explanation, tips about possible remains that were never investigated, individuals who disappeared and were never found. The FBI has a duty to investigate every possibility, not just the comfortable one. Senator, the Bureau follows credible evidence wherever it leads. Then follow it, she said. That is all I am asking. She moved forward. Director, the FBI received a formal tip regarding possible buried material near the Zorro Ranch property in New Mexico. Evidence of possible remains. Filed. Documented. Was any excavation or forensic ground survey ever conducted there? I am not in a position to confirm or deny specific investigative actions related to. That is a no, Hirono said quietly. And the American people should understand what that means. But she wasn't done. Director, there are individuals documented within the Epstein network who have not been publicly accounted for in years. Among them, a German national whose trail ends in the early 2000s after contact with individuals in Epstein's circle. No confirmed location, no confirmed status. German media and intelligence have been actively searching. Has the FBI coordinated with German authorities or any foreign counterpart, specifically on missing persons connected to this network? The FBI maintains cooperative relationships with international partners across a range of. That is also not what I asked. Hirono's tone hadn't changed once. That was the most devastating part. Not the questions, but the fact that she asked each one with exactly the same calm. No anger, no theater. Has the FBI conducted any formal review comparing identities documented within the Epstein network against active or closed missing persons cases, domestic or international? The pause lasted 9 seconds. To my knowledge, Patel said, those reviews have not been formally consolidated in the manner you're describing. 3 reporters in the press gallery began typing simultaneously. To your knowledge, Hirono repeated. She let the phrase sit in the air like smoke. Director, may I ask, since taking office, how many Epstein-related case files have you personally reviewed? Not your agents, not previous administrations, you. Patel looked down at his prepared materials. He looked back up. I have been briefed extensively on the. How many files, Director? Personally. I cannot give you a precise number at this time. It was the answer that ended the room. Here was the truth Hirono had built this entire hearing to expose. The man responsible for answering what happened to the missing victims of the most notorious network in modern American history had not personally read the files. He had been briefed, received summaries, sent agents, but he had never sat alone with the documents and asked the only question that mattered: where are the people who never came home? Director, she said, her voice dropping half a register. Deutsche Bank settled for $75 million. Bank of America agreed to $72.5 million. Financial institutions paid penalties, but not one person who enabled this network was arrested. Not one was even formally questioned. The banks lost money. The people who looked the other way lost nothing. I want to know why. Patel tried to recover. Senator, Civil and criminal proceedings are separate matters. I understand that, Director. I am asking why the criminal side produced nothing for everyone except the two individuals who are no longer able to stand trial. His senior counsel passed him a note. He glanced at it. It did not help. And Director, how many FBI agents who worked the Epstein investigation have been terminated or reassigned since you took office? I don't have that specific figure available today, he said. It was his shortest answer of the hearing, and somehow the most damning. The American people, Hirono said, closing her folder, have been told a story that ends with two convictions. But that story skips the chapter that matters most. The people who were never found. Individuals whose names appear nowhere. Because no one looked. The country that lectures the world on human rights cannot account for the individuals documented within one of the most notorious networks in modern history. She looked at him one final time. Director Patel, go back to your office and personally open those files. Not brief someone, not assign someone, you. Because what happened to the people who never came forward is not a political question. It is the only question that has ever mattered. And so far, no one in that building has been willing to answer it. The gavel fell, but the silence that filled the room in that last moment was louder than anything that had come before it, because everyone in that chamber understood the same thing at the same moment. The Epstein case had never been about one man. It had been about a system that protected everyone except the people it destroyed. Famous names got lawyers, powerful names got distance, and the names that nobody knew got nothing. Not a search, not a question. Until today. Now tell us, do you believe the FBI has done everything possible to find the victims who never came forward? Or is this the first time you're even hearing that some of them were never found? Drop your answer below, because this conversation is long overdue.